So UFC 313 just ended, and obviously there's a lot to discuss. Well, the rankings just came out, so I wanted to go over that first. Obviously, Ankalaev, he just won over Alex Pereira. He's on the pound for pound list. He's number 6, and Pereira drops to number 8. Tom Aspinall drops 2 spots, while John Jones, who hasn't fought at all, is number 2, which is kind of bullshit. The fact that Tom Aspinall has done way more than John Jones at heavyweight, and honestly has a way better legacy and way better skills and way better fights at heavyweight than John Jones, but is still number 10, and then John Jones is number 2. Considering his last light heavyweight win was 5 years ago. He hasn't fought that much since. He's had 2 fights in the last 5 years, which is embarrassing for a guy who's supposedly number 2. I don't know why he's up there. I mean, there is one reason. It's because he's Dana Schlong, or actually maybe it's probably the other way around. Maybe Dana's like his Schlong, every time he's doing those post-fight press conferences, and he just keeps all that shit. But Ankalaev is above Bilal Muhammad, which honestly makes sense. Ankalaev has beat some notable names in his division. Alex Pereira, he's beat Alex Pereira, so he deserves to be in the pound for pound list for sure. I mean, beating Alex Pereira, and apart from that, he's on a 14-fight win streak or unbeaten streak, which is I think the top 3 honestly at this point. So that's good to see. Now, with the rankings, obviously, there is some discussions with Ankalaev winning. It did shake things up. Before this fight, Pereira was facing a lot of responsibilities, facing a lot of expectations, and because of that, if he won this fight against Ankalaev, then he would have definitely been pound for pound number 1. I think Dana White would have actually followed up on that promise, and Pereira would have probably got that fight at heavyweight. Now things have shaken up, and appears that Pereira is getting that rematch against Ankalaev, which I think is super deserved. I mean, Pereira had a very good run at light heavyweight. He defended the belt 3 times. He had a very close fight with Ankalaev. So, obviously, this rematch should be number 1 priority right now. I don't think there's any other good contenders in light heavyweight right now. I mean, there's Yuri Prokaska, but apart from that, there are no worthy title contenders right now. So, the rematch makes absolute sense. Now, this is where things get, a bit fun. Now, this shakes things up for the heavyweight division. I want to say from the bottom of my heart that maybe I've been too harsh on Ankalaev. If you saw how I was reacting to Ankalaev on my social media, which you should follow, the links are in the bio. Twitter, Instagram. If you want to see a more active version of me that isn't just making videos, then go on there, because that's where I post a lot of the extraterrestrial stuff. I post a lot of stuff. I post way more on those accounts than I do on my YouTube. Now, this shakes things up because now John Jones doesn't have that Pereira fight anymore. Pereira is keen on the rematch. And since he lost, he's definitely not getting a title shot at heavyweight. So, it appears that the fight is off the table. And John Jones John's side has apparently agreed to fight Tom Aspinall. Now, this is a very big shakeup because before, Tom Aspinall was saying that John's side has not decided anything. They were holding the negotiations up. They were not keen to fight. But it appears that a day after Alex Pereira lost, now they started to agree. And I'm starting to think, something's different. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that Tom Aspinall versus John Jones fight wasn't really their highest priority. And you know how I know that? Because of what Tom Aspinall says here in this video. We'll just
Obviously, it now leaves John with either fighting you or retiring.
Yeah.
Or something That's off the table now, the Alex Pereira fight.
Now, that's off the table. He says specifically that's off the table. It appears that in the negotiations, depending on whoever won at 313, that most likely that this Jones versus Pereira fight was definitely on the table. It was definitely being considered. It wasn't this far off John Jones fight that he was using to deflect Tom Aspinall and avoid him. This was a legit fight that the UFC were actually considering, which is actually very crazy that if Pereira won this fight against Ankalaev, they could have easily agreed to make that fight instead of the John Jones versus Aspinall fight. Now let's watch the rest of the clip, because why not?
A heavyweight or any other weight, really. Yeah, John, there's only one way. There's only one thing to do, mate. Sign the contract and let's get a date going. And I know.
Well, seems like John Jones has no other option to fight Aspinall. Before, there was always that Pereira fight because Pereira was champion. He was champion. He had this defense against Ankalaev, and if he won, John Jones could have easily made an argument saying that Pereira deserved a shot at heavyweight. And you know what? No one would have disputed that because Pereira does deserve a shot at heavyweight if he beat Ankalaev on 313. But he didn't. He did it. Ankalaev and Pereira have agreed to a rematch. Pereira is not moving up to heavyweight anytime soon. So, that fight is off the table. The only other person that John Jones was supposed to fight was Aspinall. And now that Pereira can't fight, Tom Aspinall is the only option. John Jones was backed into a corner. He was backed into the corner ever since Tom Aspinall remained interim champion. John Jones, I bet you, was praying that Aspinall would get stripped of the interim belt the moment he came back to fight. And Dana White and the UFC pulled that blanket over him, said, fuck that. We're making it Aspinall still the interim champ, even though the undisputed champ came back and fought. It's like what Chael said. It's like, makes no sense. But it makes sense. Why? Because we want this Aspinall fight to happen with Jones. But the reason why negotiations haven't been going well or been holding up is because John Jones was waiting until the decision with Pereira versus Ankalaev. I mean, it was already pretty much known that Ankalaev was going to fight Pereira. He was the only other big contender left. And that fight was teased for many months. John Jones knew about this. And when it was announced, he probably was waiting until Pereira won that fight so that he can say, nope, I want to fight Pereira. He deserves the shot. And the UFC, knowing how much of a bootlicker Dana White is, he would have fucking done it. But now, Pereira lost. Ankalaev beat Pereira. This is the opposite of what Dana White wanted. And because of that, John Jones and Dana White lose out. Dana White loses out on that super fight between John Jones and Pereira, which would have probably made a lot more pay-per-views than Aspinall versus Jones. Which, I'm not saying the Aspinall versus Jones fight was going to be low selling. It was going to be high selling, but not as high selling as Pereira or Jones. Plus, Jones now has no option but to fight Aspinall, and I think he surrendered. I think he surrendered and gave up this ducking contest and agreed to fight Aspinall because there was truly no other fight for him. If John did not agree to this Aspinall fight, he would have been stripped of the belt. And I think they backed him into a corner saying, hey, if you don't fight Aspinall, because now he is your absolute only choice, we'll strip you of the belt. Probably the matchmakers, the UFC, were like this. And then John Jones was like, fine, I will fight Aspinall. And they probably, added maybe $15 million, maybe not at $30 million. If they paid him $30 million, that would be pretty impressive. And I think John Jones definitely deserves to be paid well. But I don't think they paid him $30 million for this fight. Definitely not $50 million like a lot of people were speculating. It will probably be around $15 to $20 million, which makes sense for a guy like Jones. And Aspinall is probably going to get like $5-6 million. You'll probably get even more money if he wins against Jones. But the pay that he's going to get for just showing up to fight would be probably around $5 million. Now, Let's watch the rest of the video.
Oh, we seen last night Dana White was talking. Everything is now done on John's side, and the UFC now have to find a date and a venue, a place. So we're waiting for that. We've got some good news coming soon, hopefully.
Obviously, it now leaves John with...
Well, it's pretty much settled. Negotiations are done on both sides. They just need to find a date and a venue. It's most likely they're probably going to put this on International Fight Week for UFC 317. We might get this announcement in UFC 314. This will definitely happen. I'm telling you right now, within the next couple of months, we will get an announcement for the events for UFC 316 and 317. And, I mean, for 316, I'm guessing Pantoja is probably going to headline that event, and then there will probably be Pena versus Kayla Harrison. I'm thinking those are the two main events. They already kind of teased it with Pantoja when he was talking to Manal Cape after that fight night. But he already teased that. And like, I noticed it before. A lot of people were posting about it too. I was like, UFC 316 is probably already confirmed. They're probably going to have the Pena versus Harrison, Pantoja versus probably Kai Kara France. I don't think it's Manal Cape, but it might be Kai Kara France or somebody. I don't really know who's going to be. But it might be Kai Kara France. And that's going to be 316. For 317, I am convinced it will definitely be Jones versus Aspinall. And I'm also kind of convinced it could definitely be maybe Islam versus Oliveira. I think that could definitely much happen. I think that's the fight that might happen. Oliveira, he's cleared to fight. He will definitely wants to fight for the title. I think he deserves to fight for the title. Because he was promised that rematch earlier. He was injured. He should have got the immediate rematch anyways, because he was injured. I think the UFC just doesn't like fighters getting injured last second. And since Arman's probably not going to get that title shot anytime soon, and he wants to fight in May, I think it's Islam versus Oliveira. I hope it's not Gaethje. If it's Gaethje, I will legit crash out, because he does not deserve a title shot, and Islam doesn't deserve another easy title defense against a striker with no wrestling. He needs someone like Oliveira who actually gives him some problems. Because Oliveira's wrestling has improved. He has improved as a fighter, and he's on a good run right now. After that very good performance against Chandler, I think he's definitely going to give problems in the rematch. Now, I'm thinking Jones versus Aspinall for UFC 317. That's my prediction. Now, let's go to the real point of this video. We all need to say sorry for Ankalaev. For all of us who were hating on him, for all of us, including me, I was hating on him too. Sorry about that, Ankalaev. I did not recognize your game. The reason why I say this is because of this. So, obviously here, in this video, Ankalaev's talking about John Jones.
I don't know how to answer that question. Would I? I think I could back then in the time if I was at the same time fighting as John Jones was. I don't see why not.
Now, he's saying he thinks he could beat John Jones. He's also been calling John Jones a cheat. I don't really remember where exactly, but that's for different. But he did call him a cheat. He was saying a lot of shit about John Jones, saying he's ducking Aspinall, that he's scared. He is, honestly very hated. Because although he is kind of boring, and the way he won that title against Pereira was kind of underwhelming, he's speaking facts. Would Ankalaev beat Jones? Honestly, yeah. I think he would. I think people overrate Jones because if you look at his opponents, I'm literally gonna show you. John Jones record, easy. Let's go here. Not ESPN. I don't like that much. Let's go to his UFC record. Yeah, right there. Not that one. Is it gonna be there? Okay, let's look at these fights, right? But how come it's not showing me his fucking record? I actually fucking hate that. Look, it's just not there. This is like... Where's the fucking record page? There it is. UC stats. I don't know why the fuck it's not showing that, but okay. Let's look at the record. Okay, so let's look at his title performances because he did have a good run. He was feeding some good Mauricio Rua. Honestly, Shogun was a pretty good opponent for Jones. He was on a good run. Was he in his prime? Yes. Was he kind of exiting that prime? Yeah. Quinton Jackson. Why am I saying Quinton? No. Rampage. Good opponent. Machida. He's a former middleweight. Shad Evans is a good Vitor. Former middleweight. Chael Sonnen. Short notice for former middleweight. Gustafsson is a good opponent. And he arguably won this fight as well. Teixeira was good, but frankly, the man was old. But he had some hype. Some of his title defenses were pretty good. Like the Rampage, Rashad Evans, Gustafsson, Daniel Cormier. Those are people that I'd say are good defenses. But I'm going to draw the line at Daniel Cormier and go over to Teixeira because, okay, first fight, Cormier was a lot older and a lot shorter. He had a lot of disadvantages in this fight. But John Jones had a good performance. Open St. Preux, his performance sucked, especially against a guy like St. Preux. No contest against Daniel Cormier. Well, he won, but he was taking steroids. Won against Gustafsson. He won, but he took steroids. 5 rounds with Anthony Smith. Ugh. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying his legacy is super overrated. Because, let's look at this. 5 rounds with Anthony Smith. Couldn't even finish him at all in 5 rounds. Which is fucking crazy. And he almost fucking lost, too. If Anthony Smith pulled an Aljamain Sterling, he would have lost to Anthony Smith. And then we look at Santos. Santos was beating the brakes off him. This fight went to a split decision. Honestly, Santos arguably won this. Then let's look at a fight that he definitely lost. It says here on the record books, oh, he won. The judges said he won. This man lost 3 rounds to Reyes. Rounds 1 to 3, he definitely lost. He outstruck him. John Jones, pretty much all he did was coast in the last 2 rounds and get enough points to win the round. But that was it. He didn't do anything to Reyes that Reyes did to Jones. Then we look at Cirogan. No wrestling at all. He didn't even look like he was fucking trying. And before that, when they were striking, John Jones looked extremely slow. Then let's look at his most recent win. Miocic. Almost 4 fucking rounds. And he lost one to Miocic. And keep in mind, let's look at Miocic's fucking record. This man hadn't won a fucking fight since 2020 before he fought Jones. His last fight was 3 years before that fight. And he got knocked out, washed, and fucking dominated by Francis Ngannou. And this was Stipe Miocic coming off 2 dominant wins over Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier arguably beat Daniel Cormier beat a prime version of Stipe Miocic in 1 round in a KO. Well, it took John Jones, who frankly had all the advantages, almost 4 rounds to TKO a 43-year-old semi-retired literally, like, this guy was a firefighter. This guy was literally a firefighter. And I don't have anything against the law enforcement or the firefighters or anything. I think what Stipe is doing is very honorable. And because, like, I used to be a lifeguard. I used to work with firefighters. And when I was assisting them, bro, I know their job is super hard. And it's impressive that Stipe was training for this fight and also being a firefighter. That's fucking impressive and heroic. But you can't lie when you say, like, John Jones has been fed pretty easy opponents. And when these 2 guys right here, these 2 guys, Thiago Santos and Reyes, I mean, Santos was a middleweight formerly, but still, Santos was on a huge run in light heavyweight. And he knocked out Jan Blachowicz. He gave him the hardest fight. And Reyes, who was undefeated, who was actually a natural light heavyweight, beat John Jones. You notice how the closest fights he's had were against Gustafsson and Reyes, who were arguably people who he didn't have an advantage over. Now, I don't know where I'm going. I kind of forgot, actually. What was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about how Ankalaev would beat him. Of course Ankalaev would beat him. Honestly, John Jones is really good. This would have been a very competitive fight, but Ankalaev would have beat him. Because the man's 6'3" as well. The man is a good wrestler, and he's a good striker. He could have beat John Jones, because if you look at his record, I mean, this guy is not really fought the best of the best. Here he was at his prime. No one could beat him. All of these were good contenders, deserving contenders, except maybe Vitor or Chael Sonnen. But every single one of these guys were deserving contenders. This was his prime. This era was his prime. When he came back against Daniel Cormier and Alexander Gustafsson, he needed steroids, which put such a huge dent in his career. And he was also gone for pretty much like 3 years. And then he comes back. He arguably, Anthony Smith, I mean, come on. 5 rounds where you couldn't even finish Anthony Smith. Like, come the fuck on. Split decisions with Santos. U decision with Reyes, which he arguably lost. He got outstruck by Reyes. And then, if you look at his heavyweight record, it looks fucking awful. Like, what the fuck is this? Come on. In 2 years. Look at this. 2 years. Embarrassing. But, yeah, I think Ankalaev would beat Jones. But, okay, I went on such a huge fucking rant. Okay, what I was saying about Ankalaev, we should thank this guy, because if it wasn't for him winning, we wouldn't have never gotten Jones versus Aspinall. He guaranteed Jones versus Aspinall happening. And we had to thank it. He beat Pereira, which, honestly, I don't like him for that. But we have to thank him. We have to be like, hey, I didn't recognize your game. Because this man has been against John Jones. He's been exposing him, saying, oh, John Jones is cheating. Oh, he's ducking Aspinall, which is so correct. And not only that, he beat the guy John Jones wanted to fight. He shit on John Jones after the press conference. And he made John Jones fight Aspinall. John Jones, he literally gave John Jones the ultimatum of saying, oh, you want to duck Aspinall? Well, oh, you have no other option. You have to fight him. You're going to lose. And I fucking love him for that. I don't care if he wins against Pereira. Because I forgive him for the fact that he made Jones stop ducking Aspinall. But now with Aspinall and Jones being created, I mean, this is a good one. I really much enjoyed this fight being made. This is probably going to be in 317. It's most definitely going to be in 317. I know that it's such a good event to have an international fight week, having a Jones main event. I can't wait to see it. This fight is going to be good. I think Dom Aspinall is going to become a star after this fight. He will. He is going to destroy John Jones. Because this man has been training for John Jones for almost 2 years now while John Jones has been running away. If John Jones was so much better than him, why wouldn't he fight him? He knows Tom Aspinall is his hardest matchup, and he knows Tom Aspinall's not going to go fucking easy. He doesn't have the judges to defend on. He has to survive 5 rounds with a young, hungry Tom Aspinall, who honestly is tired of John Jones' bullshit. He's probably angry at this guy. This man has been training since December. It's March. He's been training a full camp for 3 months against this guy. John Jones isn't the guy who's studying, who has the advantage anymore. I mean, look at the fight times. Look at the fight time John Jones has, right? He's got so many fights. All these fights he has to learn from him. He has all these fights. And guess what? He's gone to 5 rounds with every single one of these guys. He has all this tape. And then look at Tom Aspinall. One round KO. 1 round KO. 1 round KO. 1 round submission. 1 round KO. 2 round submission. 1 round KO. 1 round KO. This guy's fight time is actually so fucking short. It's super short. I mean, Like, come on. He has a 100% takedown accuracy and 100% takedown defense. No one has ever taken him down at all. He has 1 second of bottom position time. And he's gone against some really decent wrestlers. He's gone against Spivak. He's gone against Blades. He's gone against Tybura. You know, like, these guys are decent wrestlers. And every single one, except maybe Andrei Arlovsky, which I don't know why people say, oh, he went 2 rounds with Andrei Arlovsky. He sucks. I mean, look at the fucking resume. Blades, Pavlovich, Tybura, Volkov, Spivak. These guys are top 10 in the heavyweight division. And these guys are not like, oh, they're shit people. If they're so shit, how come John Jones hasn't fought them? He fought one guy, Cyril Gane and Stipe Miocic. People judge Tom Aspinall for fighting cans. What about fucking John Jones? John Jones literally has fought a guy who is semi-retired, who's old as fuck, who hasn't fought in 4 years, and then he fought Cyril Gane, who has no wrestling at all. Cyril Gane's probably the most shit heavyweight, the most overrated prospect in history. And look at Tom Aspinall. This guy literally cannot be studied because all this guy's fights have not even reached the 3rd round. And guess what? None of his fights have even reached halfway through the 2nd. He has not reached 7.5 minutes of fight time at all. This is all John Jones has to work with. This is not going to teach him anything. He doesn't know how Tom Aspinall acts in the 2nd round. And it's not like he has a cardio issue. Tom Aspinall definitely doesn't have a cardio issue. Because if you're really relying on tiring him out, I mean, you're going to have to survive a bunch of shit because the man's coming at you fast. John Jones is digging himself a hole. And he probably wouldn't have been in this position if he didn't duck Aspinall. If he fought Aspinall the moment he came back, we could have probably seen Tom Aspinall been a bit nicer. He'd been like, oh, John, I respect you a lot, mate. And I know you're a real champion. And I love to fight with you. And I'm going to give you some respect because you're such a legend, mate. But now, Tom Aspinall's probably like, oh, this guy's a fucking duck. I'm going to fucking destroy this man and make a statement. Because I see all those John Jones fans talking a bunch of shit. And Tom Aspinall is going to be coming here. He's going to be fucking horny as hell. This man is going to come in there and he's going to make John Jones the fucking victim. John Jones is talking about, oh, I victimized these guys. John Jones is the killer. Well, Tom Aspinall is going to make this man the fucking victim. Believe me, this man has been training for Jones for the past year. Ever since he's got that interim title, he's always thought about Jones. He's always been preparing for Jones. You know, he had that fight camp for Curtis Blades, yes. But then after that, he had a full training camp for 3 months, and he's still training for Jones. While Jones is doing nothing but hoping Pereira would win. And Pereira didn't win. Now he's fighting a guy who has been training for 3 months. I mean, sorry, John, but your time's up. Your time's up, man. Tom Aspinall's coming. I mean, you've literally made this guy wait for how much? Like almost 2 fucking years to get a title fight. I mean, come on. John Jones is fucking screwed. And thank you, Ankalaev. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because without Ankalaev, we would have never gotten this fight. If Pereira won this fight, it would have been nice. Because light heavyweight, oh, Ankalaev's defeated. Oh, he's boring. He looks like a fucking gnome. You know, oh, Pereira. And I'm like, I would have been happy too. But that means John Jones would have fought Pereira. And Aspinall would have been shoved to the side and disrespected. But now, John Jones got backed into a corner. And I'm so fucking glad. Because at least with Ankalaev, he's not that bad. You know, he's not a Marab. You know, he actually is a pretty good striker. And I think their rematch with Pereira, his rematch with Pereira, will definitely be a lot different than it was before. And I'm really interested to see that. But I'm glad Ankalaev won at 313. Because this meant that Alex Pereira could not fight John Jones. He could stay light heavyweight, which honestly I wanted to do. Because I don't feel like light heavyweight is the division he loses in. I mean, he's already lost, but like, I don't think his toughest fight will be at light heavyweight. It will be in heavyweight. Alex Pereira will not do good in heavyweight. At least he has a big chance of beating Ankalaev in the rematch. But I am glad that rematch is happening. I am glad that Tom Aspinall is finally getting that fight. John Jones' side seems to be everything is down on John's side. Sign the contract. They're probably gonna sign that shit because John Jones doesn't have a fucking option. They're gonna fight. I'm guessing UFC 317. They're probably gonna fight for the title. Yeah, they're probably gonna make that fight in 317 because it is International Fight Week, and also I don't see any other good main event right now that could be worthy of that. So, I mean, thank you, Ankalaev. Thank you.